You look at a hat and you probably don't think much about it. But what if I told you every single hat has a story? Seriously. From these weird perfumed cones in ancient Egypt all the way to the hard hat on a modern construction site. So let's dive into some of the most surprising facts hidden in the headwear we see all the time.
Okay, so what do ancient Egyptians and modern construction workers have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup for a really bad joke, right? But the answer is hats. And this question, it really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. Hats have always had a purpose, sometimes for safety, sometimes for status, and sometimes, believe it or not, as a personal air freshener. All right, first up, let's talk about symbolic and ceremonial hats. Because long before hats were just about looking good, they were these powerful symbols. They told people everything they needed to know about your status, your intelligence, and yeah, even how you smelled.
And the messages they sent could be totally different. Take ancient Egypt, for example. The rich and powerful would literally wear these cones made of scented wax on their heads. As the day got hotter, the wax would melt, drip down, and act like a perfume and hair conditioner all in one. Wild, right? Then you jump forward to the Middle Ages, and the message is way less subtle. It was basically the bigger and crazier your hat, the richer and more important you were. Simple as that. And this brings us to a symbol a lot of us have actually worn, the graduation cap. Have you ever stopped to think, why is it that weird flat square? Well, it's meant to look like a book. The whole idea is that it represents knowledge. So next time you see someone toss that cap in the air, remember, they're basically throwing the book of knowledge they just finished. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. We're going to look at the unexpected origins of some absolute classics. I'm talking about iconic hats you see all the time, but their backstories? Yeah, they're probably not what you think. Okay, picture a fedora. What comes to mind? Probably old school detectives, maybe some gangsters, Frank Sinatra, right? It's like the ultimate icon of classic men's style. But what if I told you that's completely wrong? Yep, it was originally designed for women. The fedora actually made its debut in a play back in 1882, worn by the female lead. It then became a huge fashion statement for women's rights activists. It was their hat long before men ever started wearing it. A total 180 from what we think of today. And this journey from pure function to everyday fashion is super common. The baseball cap? It started back in 1849 for one simple reason, to keep the sun out of players' eyes. That's it. And the hard hat? Well, that's a direct descendant of the steel helmets that soldiers wore in World War I to stay alive. It wasn't until the 1930s that they were adapted to save lives on construction sites. All right, now for the really fun part, because hats aren't just about history lessons. They're also about magic, pop culture, and sometimes just pushing things to the absolute extreme. You know the classic magic trick, right? Pulling a rabbit out of a top hat? Well, that's been blowing people's minds since the 1800s. That big, deep, mysterious top hat was just the perfect prop for a little bit of magical misdirection. Here's a good trivia question for you. You've heard the word milliner, right? A person who makes hats. But do you know where that word comes from? It actually comes from Milan, in Italy. For hundreds of years, Milan was the place for high fashion and amazing fabrics. So it just made sense that the best hat makers got their name from the city. And speaking of extremes, get ready for this one. The Guinness World Record for the tallest hat ever worn. We are talking about a hat that was 15 feet tall. That's over 4.5 meters. To give you some perspective, that is taller than an average giraffe, taller than a double-decker bus. Can you even imagine trying to walk through a doorway wearing that thing? No way. So, after all this, all the history, the crazy symbols, the world records, it kind of feels like hats deserve their own day, right? A day to just appreciate them. Well, guess what? They have one. Go ahead and mark it on your calendar, because January 15th is officially Hat Day. It's a day to celebrate everything we've talked about, the style, the purpose, the pure fun of hats. So you've got the perfect excuse to break out your favorite one. So when you really think about it, from those perfumed cones to life-saving hard hats, it's obvious that hats are so much more than just an accessory. They're like little time capsules, telling us stories about who we were, what we cared about, and what we thought was cool. And that kind of leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? What will the hats of the future say about us?